and it turns green.
Great.
I would like to call the meeting to order. Today is the Thursday, December 13th, 2018, regular meeting of the Public Arts Commission. And I'd like to ask Mr. Verrado to please call the roll.
Very good. Commissioner Brenner?
Here.
Commissioner Gladstone?
Has an excused absence.
Excused. Commissioner Merrigan?
Here.
Commissioner Murray? Commissioner Pritchard?
Here.
Vice Chair Yanni?
Here.
Chair Sheffer?
Here. Thank you. I would like to propose a slight change to the agenda, and that is we have some guests here to make a presentation, but they've agreed to wait until after we've done the action items that we need to do. So I would ask you to accept the agenda with that change.
So we want to move A1 to like C3 or D1? Okay.
Whatever you would call it, yes.
So we're moving agenda number A1 to a new line called D1. Okay.
Right.
Do we need to vote on that?
We need to just accept the agenda. All in favor?
But don't we have to make I make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Thank you.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Okay. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the Commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the Commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda, and 5 minutes is assigned for each speaker. And we have no public comments today. I would like to move that we table approval of the minutes from November 8th because we had a special meeting on November 29th and we don't have the minutes for those. So some of the things that are in the November 8th meeting minutes have been superseded already. So at the next meeting, perhaps we could do both, if everyone agrees that we'll table those. Okay, now I put a new thing on the agenda, which is a report from the chair, because I wanted to make sure that everyone sort of knew some of the side things that are going on, and so we're sort of all on the same page. The first thing is the subcommittee of the council has been interviewing candidates for the vacancies on the Arts Commission. The whole process was set back 3 months, or no, 6 months. Terms should have expired in June, and now they're expiring towards the end of the year, I think. But in any case, I think Commissioner Murray and Commissioner
Gladstone.
Yanni and Commissioner Gladstone. So we have not heard, but hopefully all will be reappointed. Then the next question would be, we generally have had elections for chair in September, but since we didn't have reappointments, I would like to propose that we do them in January, or we at least decide in January when to have them. It's hard to say because the year begins on July 1st, but we generally don't meet in July, so do we want to elect officers in June of a year, or so? The second point I just wanted to bring everyone up to date on was that we discussed what to do about the Martin Luther King Day student exhibition that we've had each year, and the feeling was that the commission really couldn't handle that anymore. So I called the Black History Month committee, and Commissioner Murray is on it, and why don't you tell him what you came up with sort of as an alternative?
Very briefly, via our last meeting, the suggestion was to pay tribute to the mural project that's going up at St. Paul's Church. Father Green gave us what was going on with that. And in that mural, to make a long story short, is Dr. Martin Luther King. And I've since talked with him about that since our last meeting. And I've also talked to Robert Moon, the mayor, and Mr. Roberts of the city council about it. We're meeting this Saturday to finalize that. There were, lastly, some scholarships that were to be given to the artists, the students. I think we, and the mayor asked about that. I think we don't have to do that since there are no students. However, once from Father Green's church, the vestry, the board, if they approve this, there will be perhaps envelopes in the pews. So if people would like to give towards
Oh, that's great.
Towards the
tribute.
mural.
And will the
Mural,
mural
yes.
be ready
Yes.
to go,
It
to
should-
be dedicated?
yes.
Great.
We're hoping, he's hoping.
And the other thing is that we voted a long time ago to get St. Paul's a refund on the
Yes.
mural fees, and we need to figure out how to do that. That they should refund them to the church, but charge it to our budget. And this is the first time we've tried it. It would be great if sometime we get to the point where we did it ahead of time, but
Yes.
we'll try to get them a refund as our way of supporting them, the
And,
mural.
and Madam Chair, for the record, hopefully this can be an ongoing tribute in honoring students during Martin Luther King month or day.
Which is great.
Um,
And I think the
so-
mural's gonna be very exciting.
So what's that? So the students are not making
No.
paintings again? Okay.
No.
But our son,
So
are there a
what's the
couple of-
involvement? Are they coming like for the dedication? Is there like a student element to the program? Is it?
A youth element, yes,
And how about,
but
in-
not through public arts.
are there any
Right.
young people working on the mural? Did you say at one point that there's some sort of helpers?
Yes, he mentioned some,
Oh,
from
nice.
homeless to various other groups.
It's
Right.
great,
Yeah.
and we really need to document that. Will you get in touch with Madalena and make sure that
Okay.
we get, maybe even a video or interview the
Mhm.
artist, and that would be great. Okay, the next sort of issue floating around is, we've been having a lot of fun using the Pit and the Virgin Hotel site, with lots of ideas for temporary and fun installations. But it turns out that as of the moment, Grit Development is required to extend that gravel portion into the pit about 30 feet, which would not only make a big mess, but would obscure the mural that we're talking about doing. So it's fine with Grit Development. They're in no hurry to do it. I've talked to a couple of people in the city, and there seems to be no real urgency for that to happen, but we need to get it in writing so that just because everybody's sort of thinking someone else said to do it, one day we find out that they've filled in the pit, covered up all the art. So we'll work on that. I got some emails from a group called the Main Street Group, which is the downtown merchants. And they are aware that the city is talking about replacing all of the benches downtown and trash receptacles and newspaper boxes and things. And they wanted to know if we would be available, if they could come up with a plan to repurpose the current benches and have them redesigned by artists. And so I said, absolutely. So we're waiting to hear if they can, because replacing all the benches is like $500,000, whereas the benches there's nothing wrong with them except they're kind of tired looking. So it would be fun to do that. There's also been some interest in crosswalks, some things when they make Indian Canyon 2 ways. So we just keep saying, sure, we'll help, and it'll work its way through the process. And the other fun thing that's happening is that Destination PSP, which is the store on North Palm Canyon, they would like to do a line of merchandise based on public art. And they've already talked to Scott Froschauer about Imagine Art Here, and they're thinking of making that into mugs or T-shirts or something you could hang on your wall. And then they're looking for ideas and suggestions of other pieces of art that would be turned into fun merchandise. So I think that's sort of all the. I just wanted to know all the things that were going on. Does anyone else have anything, just that is not on our agenda that they want to throw out? Okay. All right. The first thing is an update on the contract with Eastern Lion, aka Michael Bernberg, and perhaps Russell, you can fast forward to the end of, of the story. In your packets, there is a this bright orange.
Yeah, so we're going to, in the goal of to finally get through the Michael Bernberg contract with the Movement Moment Change, which has been sort of assigned to a few different sites over the last several months, and we did one contract extension. So meeting with Michael the artist, we have determined that we can scale this down so that we'll be able to be installed on the Virgin Hotel site. So the image that you have in front of you is basically a three-sided. So the Movement Moment Change will be front-forwarding the east-south corner of the Virgin Hotel site, sort of facing the new shops.
There's actually a map if you want
Yeah.
to sort of see where it is.
So we're going to scale down the size, and these two things that look like wings are actually support things, so it's much more easily installed, it's lighter, scaling down the size to approximately a 4 foot by 8, 3 by 5, giving Michael some leniency on the actual finish size, but keeping it at least sort of a 4 by 8 thing. And would drop the budget down from the original of 20 down to 13. The deposit already paid is 5, approximately, rounding the numbers off. So we would have a balance owing on Michael Bernberg contract at the end of the installation period, which would be January 31st, 2019. Balance due would be $8,000.
And if you look at the site plan for Grit, where it is towards the center of the chart is where it says Public Park. And just below that is the future Virgin Hotel site. And this would go on the corner of Museum Way and I don't know if it ever got named Market Street, but that, the closest corner to Palm Canyon, on an angle, on a slab. So, and it does sort of capture the whole, change thing that's going on there. So,
Yeah, the great thing with that corner, especially for the new merchants who are along Museum Way, House of Pokey, and the other shops, it will give a nice draw from Palm Canyon going toward Bellardo, which ultimately with the pit has all of the art going on. We do the mural in the pit, and then as the public park is being built,
right.
it just sort of creates that momentum of Palm Canyon toward Bellardo, and so the merchants who are not fronting Palm Canyon, but who are around the corner, get much more foot traffic and visibility for their businesses.
And the museum's very happy too. Their admissions are up because people know where it is now. I mean, we've seen people standing there going, I think the museum's here somewhere. And just to back up a little bit, the original proposal was for such a large piece of sculpture that every place we thought of putting it, it turned out that it's underground parking under almost this whole area. So with about a 6-inch ceiling of the garage. And so it just will not support anything that heavy, just about anywhere. And we kept moving it, to different parts of it, and they'd go, nope, it's going to fall through. So
Yeah, this for us was sort of a learning process because we didn't, learning sort of all of the sites that are available to us downtown, and then the drawbacks and limitations with installation on all of those sites. When we first started discussing this, given the size and the scale of it, a property like out in the middle of the desert would be much more appropriate for it, but we want it downtown. So this seems to be a very good way to get the resolve, get it done, very timely fashion. It'll be at the end of January, cuts the budget significantly, so we can divert that money back into the funds, so.
Is there a
think it's-
lighting plan as part of the installation?
We have a lighting plan for the pit, and I think it's possible that we can
Yeah.
do this corner piece, because Grit Development is being very helpful and letting us tap into wherever there are power sources,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Yeah, and certainly on the Virgin site, there are sources of power, so we could access one of those, and I'm sure Michael Ron would be easy to
He's
work
been
from.
very helpful, so. And I handed out these 3 pieces of paper that are just sort of summaries of things to help us get through this. And if you look at the one that says contract overview for action items, number 5 is, I think, the motion that we would need to make to approve this, what has just been described by Russell. So do you want to make this motion if you feel that it's,
Can I ask a
Accurate.
question first,
Yeah.
Madam Chairman? If someone were to ask us, what does this mean? Is it all part of our Imagine Art here prerequisite or theory or?
Well, yeah, it's a combination of that and for we as the Public Arts Commission to announce that the city of Palm Springs, that the growth downtown is also triggering a growth in the visibility of the Public Arts Commission,
Okay.
especially pushing for murals and temporary art, which the city has sort of been lacking in.
Thank you.
and we like the message of this.
Yes.
It's just the messenger turned out to be a little bit.
Yeah.
Can we, but I assume, so we have the ability to move it, obviously?
Yes.
Right.
Well, and that's
Now
the other
it's
thing, that
light.
once the Virgin Hotel site is no longer available to us, given the size and the scale of this, we can basically pick it up and put it wherever we want.
Though, according to the Desert Sun this morning, Grit has just asked for a 3-year delay on the Virgin Hotel.
Yes.
So
It may
So
be
we'll
there for
get
a
to-
long
we-
time.
Very well,
Yeah.
good.
may not have to move it for a while.
temporary.
Right, exactly. So,
So what are we
Russell,
actually
see if
voting
number
on?
5, see if that describes, and if that's accurate, we can vote on that. Yeah, do you want to make that motion?
Oh, sure, sorry.
Okay,
I was
that's
just looking at the number because we had not to exceed 15,000. Do you want to use that number or do we want to put 13, which is what Michael Bernberg put in?
We can
his?
put 13. If
Yeah.
that, when I wrote this, we hadn't quite. 13.
All right, so then I would like to make a motion that we amend the agreement for purchase of sale of public artwork from Michael Bernberg for a redesigned sculpture to place on the Virgin Hotel site for a total amount not to exceed $13,000 to be delivered and installed by January 31st, 2019, keeping in mind that the $13,000 already reflects that within that budget, there's $5,000 already paid to the artist, so balance on installation would be $8,000.
Okay, and do you think that's complete enough?
If we could also indicate that Michael Bernberg is Eastern Line.
Oh, okay. So this is public artwork with Michael Bernberg, DBA Eastern
Eastern
Lion
Line
LLC.
Oh, it's,
So do we need to
Okay.
restate it, or?
Okay.
Okay.
You wanna-
all right, I
We'll
guess we
let,
did.
we'll let
Do you want me
Tom
to-
restate it, and that way it'll be
We're gonna,
seconded.
we're voting to approve an amendment to the agreement for the purchase and sale of a piece of public artwork called Moment Movement Change with the artist Michael Bernberg doing business as Eastern Lion LLC for a redesigned sculpture to be placed on the Virgin Hotel site in the amount not to exceed $13,000 to be delivered and installed before January 31st, 2019.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Very good. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank Commissioner Pritchard for his work on this. And I know he's like,
Perseverance.
it's a learning process. Chair Sheffer has moved this commission into a completely new realm, I feel, and I'm really proud of everything that's been happening here. So I want to thank you for that. And my one comment is, I'm hoping while we're going through this, I'm trying to develop a calendar of sorts. So Madalena, through our social media, making sure that if we're going to do some sort of installation and those kinds of things, that those things are being covered.
Documented, yes.
Yes, so
Yeah.
when we have a date of that, or once it's in place, if we decide as a commission when to do an installation, just that, again, we start putting this together in a calendar. I think maybe that's something that's coming up a little bit more in our 30th anniversary, and, but
Exactly,
but
thank you.
congratulations. You worked really hard on getting this, and we've learned a lot in the process, so thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, Russ, the reason I asked the question, and I think this is good, is because a lot of community activists use these words: moment, movement, change. A moment is not a movement. A movement is sacrifice. You know, so some people may look at it, if I'm making sense, and it should be a form of activism.
Yeah.
You know, as it relates to art.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Well, yeah, because I like both that aspect, and for me, coming from the standpoint of the only constant of life is change, thus the tattoo on my hand that says change.
Oh,
I like the other one though.
Oh,
Need and
want to be-
want.
want to be. I have my own walking art piece.
Great, all right, so
Can I
that's,
ask one question?
yeah.
You, should it say by January 31st? Because I think you said before January 31st. Does it make a
I think it
difference?
says by January, it says that on there.
I
Right,
think-
no, but when I said it out loud.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I think by January 31st would be
Okay, bye.
So we have to do it
Okay,
again.
very good. Okay,
Okay.
as amended, I think we should take a voice vote on each of these because they are contracts. So, just call out the names, yeah.
Commissioner Brenner,
Yes,
Commissioner Merrigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Pritchard,
yes.
Vice Chair Yanni,
Yes.
Chair Shepard.
Yes. Very good. Motion carries. Now, in an attempt to sort of make it possible to get through these 4 more contracts in a kind of cohesive way, if you look at this sheet I tried to put together called the Summary of the 30th Anniversary Schedule and Budget, I wanted to show, again, it sort of goes to Commissioner Murray's question, why we're doing these things. So our first goal, I think, has been to raise the visibility of the public art program through events, social media, and increased public participation. And to do that, we have contracted with Scene Creative, with Madalena, and are proposing to contract with Ryan and Illuminating Industries. Secondly, we want to create a process for selecting or commissioning public art, and especially to collaborate with the designers of the downtown park so that the art is integral to the design. And the way we will do that is with the contract that's coming up with Dyson and Womack. All of these we've talked about in other meetings, but I was trying to somehow get them all on the same piece of paper. And then the other goals for the year are, by the time we've gone through all of this, to see if we can't go back to the arts ordinance and the mural ordinance and fix them even better so that the process works and so that we get a broader range of artists. We don't necessarily wait for artists to come to us, but we start soliciting for artists. And then we also have to really get up to speed on maps and apps and access to all of this and maintenance and moving things and stuff. So, so if that's the framework for this, then the next page that we should look at is the one that has blue on the side of it. And the reason for this, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Merrigan to sort of go into this in detail, but this is sort of a calendar of the events that we want to do this year and a budget for them. And in blue on the side are the initials of the commissioner who's been working on it, because even if we approve all of these concepts and we know what the scope of work is and what the timetable is and everything else, one of you is going to spend a lot of time at City Hall going over the contract details, because they won't necessarily fit into just a simple city contract. I mean, there's all kinds of things to do with insurance and stuff that we don't know about. But Commissioner American has written out a much longer description of what's going to happen for the rest of the year. Do you want to just sort of highlight, you can do it off this summary one or off of yours, and then I'd like to go back and do these 4 other contracts, see if we can put all the pieces together and not drive our guests away. Okay, so we've done the launch and the street fair, and great success, great social media coverage. It was, I think, a great launch. So, Casey, why don't you say what's next? There's an awful lot of paper, I realize.
I know. I think maybe I'm missing a page, but I have it in my email.
Is it, do you not have all of your, here, is this, I think that's,
Oh, yeah, cool, awesome. Okay, so I'll be brief because I do have to leave at 5. And so we have good updates on everything. The map has been approved to be at the film festival. So we're just working with how that's going to go into the gallery and what's going to go with it, which we can start working on next week. So Ellen, when she came to our meeting, was interested in working with us on a project. So she approached, because she works with the Art Institute, the teacher from the Art Institute, who was really excited to do a master class with us. So we have it scheduled. It's been back and forth with the teacher, but I think it's going to start right when the kids get back from school, and I'll know tomorrow. It's going to be like a 3 or 4 day class, and then you can kind of read the synopsis of it. But basically, the students are going to be given a part of the city, and they're going to be given in December an artist's brief on what the project's about, so they can start thinking about it over the holiday and do some research. And then and they'll be assigned a part of the city, which is a part of the map, which they'll create their own. It's going to be a master class on textile, but also on public art. So they'll create that part of the city, and they'll decide it's going to be a group project. So as a group, you know, what kind of public art they want to put there. They'll create a piece of public art. They'll end up giving us an artist statement at the end as to what their choices and why. So the teacher's extremely excited about it, and everybody's excited about it. So I think it's going to be amazing. We'll end up with about 7 pieces.
and it's at the Richards Center is the former Palm Springs High School auditorium. The film festival screens like 6 films a day there it's a 900-seat auditorium. So if we can get this out in front of all these people who come to the film festival, it will be just really.
And if anyone wants to sit the show during the film festival, like we'll make up some times if people wanted to be a docent for it. So we can figure that out. Let us know.
Is it going to be in the gallery part?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But we especially need a big sign on the wall that you see from the lobby.
Yeah, I
Let's
went
make
there
sure.
yesterday and I photographed it and measured it, so we definitely, I don't think their sign is enough.
And Melanie was helpful in getting the hanging system in
Yeah,
there.
it's really
so,
nice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I had all those dimensions so
Oh.
that I did it before, but pleasure. But yes,
So that's-
I'm
yeah.
guessing that working with Ellen, we can get some really nice signage on that wall that's really directing people down to the gallery space. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there, and they said they'd pay for the signage, so I went to measure it so we
Yeah.
could see how big to make things.
That's great.
And it really needs something on the
Yes,
outside.
yeah, definitely.
Good. So that's,
So that's that.
January, and it's going to be coordinated by Sarah Scheidman. So,
It's a terrific concept, very
Yeah.
good
Cool,
concept.
huh?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? So
and
then they'll all get a frame, they're all gonna be the same size, like 16 by 16, so they'll be given a pre-framed canvas, and then they'll attach everything to it.
Yeah.
And it can even be like 3D, you know.
This
it
is
can-
fun.
Yeah,
it's
great.
gonna be cool.
So then in February, normally the commission is entitled to do a show at the Desert Arts Center, and it's been the Juried Art Show, but we all started talking about what would be an alternative to it, and it became such an alternative that it's now in May. Which makes a lot of sense. I mean, it gives a
It
lot
ends up being-
longer time
Right.
to
Yeah,
get
it
ready.
ends up
and-
being good for everybody, because I think they would love that busier month for their selling art. And then it
But-
gives us more
right.
time, and then we can highlight it at the end of the year.
Right,
Right.
but it also frees February up for another exciting,
We're going to have
Thank-
performance art. Do you want to explain that?
Wait, no, I can't follow.
Okay,
Can we finish Tracy's
yes.
report?
So
Okay.
then we met with, Tom and I went and met with the DAC again yesterday. So they are embracing of this idea. They've sent kind of a report back on what they would like to do and what they'd like us to do. So, which we can forward to everybody, or forward in whatever contract we end up doing. The one thing I did ask them to do was do the intake and the outtake. So, Tom's not quite sure on that.
Yeah, because you're so good at that.
I'm. I need
But he
to-
could
If
volunteer
they
to do
can
that.
do it, that's good,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
they
just,
should.
So the idea, and I guess, I don't know if we have to decide on it tonight, but the idea behind it, talking to people, and then I came up with this idea, and then I ran it by people, and they really liked it, so you can see what you guys think. So the idea is public art 30 by 30, making public art public in Palm Springs. So this year's focus is Artists Here, celebrating 30 years of public art in Palm Springs. You're invited to express yourself in any medium and size up to 30 by 30 inches. So the 30 is our year. The 30 inches seems to be a good fit for that gallery, walking around and measuring the space. And then to not have as much art on the walls as is there. So people can actually really look at the art. So that's the idea behind it. And then and this can, this is my shot at some of the questions, but really getting people to think about what is public art and what they want public art to be. So, so those are the questions. Curating it, we would like to curate half of it on Instagram. And so I wrote a little blurb about that. And then half of it at the Desert Arts Center for people who aren't, so we don't leave anybody out who isn't really social media savvy. Then along with like the student show, I put in that we'd like an artist statement from every artist to hang with the show. Because I think it's really important if someone takes it, we want the reasoning behind the piece, and I'd like their name and everything on it. So originally I thought this so that people could also reach out to the artist to buy their work, but Desert Arts Center will sell the work for the artists, which they haven't done in the past, which would be great. everything would have to be ready to hang.
Do you want to just mention Noosa so we can, I'd like to get all of Sarah's,
So then,
Contract.
and you can kind of read the rest of it. So depending on the timing of all of this, we could announce the people at the end closing lecture or, okay, so
But also, can I
Noosa,
just add something? But
Yes.
the felt map was going to be part of the exhibition too, so
yes,
so
yes.
it lives on.
Yes.
and
Okay.
it-
And there's a good
ends up
wall.
being like the closing.
Yeah,
'Cause
there's
it's
a
like
good
the end of
wall
the
for it
season.
there,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think they ended up getting very excited about it. So,
Mhm.
and the artists there that I've talked to are excited. So, I went to their opening last Friday. So Noosa has asked us to help with their tour, their bus tour. So all of this kind of ends up being at the same time by chance, which ends up being good. So part of their tour is going to be the art museum. Then they're going to the theater next to Desert Arts Center. Then they're going to Desert Arts Center, and then they're going to
Shag shop.
Shag.
Shag
Shag
Store.
shop.
Yeah.
So when they go to Desert Arts Center, our show will actually be hanging in the Desert Arts Center, which is great synergy.
Right.
So we were very excited about this Noosa event because there's so many neighborhood or good government, public openness people coming to this event from all over the country.
1,000 delegates, I think. coming.
Yeah, it's great. So, and our city's really involved with it because I think Lisa goes every year. So we are going to have the Felt Eye view there also. They're going to have like a vendor exhibitor area. So on May 15th, at that evening, we can install the Felt Eye view, and then we can put some of the student work, like the top student work that we get from the class, we can have that there. And then during the day on May 16th, we can have an activation. So all about like a public art activation, all about public art pieces. And then we're going to invite those attendees to the closing lecture. And then we're going to assist on the bus with narration.
Sounds
So I
like
think it
fun.
will be really fun. So we're going to tag team it, public art and talking about our map and what we've done the whole year. So we're
Neighborhoods
going
and
to
it-
talk
it
to them
should-
over the. So
Okay.
that's that. And then there are a couple other ideas that we're still following up on.
Okay, so now go back to the action items overview. And it's the number 1 contract, which would be to approve a contract with Scene Creative, Sarah Scheidman, to manage these activities that Tracy has described. And if you read it down lower on the page, it's the scope of work that she would be doing.
So do you want me to read that?
Yeah,
Or
why
there-
don't you at least move that we approve the contract with her for the scope of work as described here.
Okay. So I move to approve a contract with Scene Creative LLC, Sarah Scheidemann, to manage Public Arts Commission exhibits and activities
Oh, it's
from
not January through June.
June.
That's a, that was an earlier thing, right?
$15,000, including the listed scope of work.
Do we need to detail those?
Do you want to just read them out so that they're
Sure.
in the minutes?
So
But we'll give this
scope
also-
of work including managing the program with Palm Springs High School,
You can just read.
arts group, the exhibition,
You can just,
from deliverables, right. Felt Eye View at the Art Institute Gallery at the Richard Center, working on a master class, working on helping curate and manage the Public Art 30 by 30 30th anniversary show to be held in the month of May at the Desert Art Center, to transfer the Feltai View and put together the booth at the NUSA conference in mid-May, and work on other projects such as the Tribe collaboration, Parks Department collaboration, Feltai View, Modernism Week promotion, coordinating social promotion with Madalena, and reporting on each deliverable with expenses itemized.
Madam Chair, I believe it would be directing staff to,
Put that into a contract,
Right,
yes.
right.
But that is the list of what,
thank you.
do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, and are there any other questions? With the understanding that we are, as Jay just said, we are approving the expenditure of this money for these deliverables, and we are asking the staff to help us get that into a contract. In the case of Sarah, because we worked so hard on her previous contract, a lot of the subsidiary things, the insurance she has to show and all of that will already be there, and this is a new list of deliverables, so that one should not be too hard.
Do we want a voice vote?
Yeah, well, I think we should go around again, because
Okay.
we're spending money here, so,
Yeah.
let's have a vote on this contract.
Commissioner Brenner,
Yes.
Commissioner Merrigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Abstain.
Commissioner Pritchard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Yanni,
Yes.
and Chair Sheffer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to 1.
Okay.
Great.
Do you,
Thank you.
Commissioner Murray, do you have a
Two of them
comment you
are
want to
a
make
little-
just about?
To follow
Well,
on that.
My concern is, I was initially on this committee, and I met with the chair several times, once at my studio, if not twice. And we were scheduled to meet several other times, and you didn't
You
didn't come.
No, you didn't come.
You
It's
didn't,
all right.
excuse
We
my
know
English.
that you were,
Well, at Ernst's, I sat there for almost an hour.
oh dear.
And you said I won't get into that, but,
Well, you did.
and then,
So,
I'm sorry?
you did get into it. You missed a whole bunch of meetings, so.
Well,
I would like to ask,
I didn't know about
though,
the
that
meetings.
because it's a big project.
I'd like to respond to
that-
that, Madam Chair. I didn't know about the meetings.
on,
And
come
the
on, Ally.
meetings that I
Come on,
was
Ally.
scheduled to be
Okay,
at, you didn't show up. Or you said you were asleep, you
let-
forgot.
let's
Oh
not do
my
this
God.
You
in
didn't
the
say that?
meeting, because we have a lot of other stuff to do.
You didn't say that?
I don't have a gavel, but I need to call the meeting
So
back
that's,
to order.
so I feel like I've been left out.
And I hope
And
that we
I
will
don't,
get
there's
to.
no ill will or anything, but, and then I was in a car accident and other things happened.
Yeah,
But, several times I sat there waiting on you, and it just didn't happen.
We will try to fix that, and be careful
Please
what you
fix
wish
that.
for, because you may end up in charge of something.
Let's just say that we have a disagreement, so.
May I
Well,
ask who
let's-
the maker of the motion was again, please? Did I miss that?
Tracy?
Tracy made the motion.
I made the motion.
And Pritchard
I-
seconded.
Okay.
Okay.
So just to clarify, so back to the agenda, so now that was action item C2.
Yes.
And so now we are
No,
moving.
that was C, we're
C1.
in,
Third.
action item C2 has 4 motions in it. They
Oh,
just
okay.
aren't.
Yeah, we
so
have
that
the
was
other
part one.
contracts
So
to
So
we're
we did
still on
number 1 of the,
C2,
Mhm.
C2A, or.
right. I should have put letters.
Okay.
Okay, so the next 2 have to do with activities in February, since the exhibit has been moved to May. So, Commissioner Pritchard, why don't you describe, this is what's planned for
Sure.
February and the contracts that we need
Yep.
to do it.
Yeah, because all of the commissioners are aware we've had artist Ryan Cabell present to us at 2 separate meetings over the last few months. And we've had the discussion to work with Ryan to do a mural as depicted in the pamphlet information that you have on the, I call it the west wall of the grit art pit. So when you're looking at the museum and the mountains, this is what the view will be in the pit. Correct, that's the one.
Yeah.
So as
The
we
other
just-
one is not, it's an alternative, but
Yeah.
it's,
The one at the top.
This one,
Correct.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Exhibit A, we'll
Mm-hmm.
call that Exhibit A. So anyway, so Ryan has presented this to us a couple of times. We've met with Michael Braun, Grit Development. He's totally in favor with this. So we have been discussing this just as an independent project that we as the Public Arts Commission, we're going to commission Ryan to do this mural in the pit. And now, in our dialogue with wanting to have more activities with our 30th anniversary and February freeing up, and February being Modernism Week, artist Ryan Campbell is very willing and able to do this mural for us, sort of prepping it just leading into Modernism Week, and then to actually be painting it in the pit, excuse me, during modernism, so it becomes sort of an active workshop on mural creation. So all of the people who are coming to the tour of the Walker House in the pit, coming to see the babies, will see Ryan Campbell working on a commission by the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission.
and there's 100,000 people come to Modernism Week. I don't know if they'll all come through
Down to
but
the
this,
pits. They'll brave the babies.
this Walker Guest House has turned out to be very popular, and they're already doing tours of it. So this is a combination of a mural and sort of performance art.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
It
that's
will
the
be,
Yeah, because especially with the pit already having two sort of somewhat static pieces of art in it, this further activates the site by having an artist in there during Modernism Week. February, because we're not doing a show, this becomes our show for the month. And it becomes an art piece, given that we will get the city to get Michael Braun not to have to extend the wall
Right.
straight away. As long as we pin down that location, this will be a mural that will be in place as the pit exists for probably a couple of years, and then will live on in the development. It'll be part of the parking structure, and Grid Development is willing to work with the artist in maintaining it for a number of years.
How long is it gonna take him to do this?
Ryan would take approximately 2 weeks, so he would do a
So-
lot of prep.
Yeah.
And then start.
right, and
He would have
Modernism
some
Week
in-
is 10 days.
10 days, yeah,
actually,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
It's great.
very
And
cool.
the other thing that starts the day before Modernism Week is Desert X, and that, so there's more people coming. And
And this is
part
kind
of
of like
his,
an X, right?
right? And part of what he's agreed to do is, if you picture the wall, you're facing the museum, to the left, there's this long, ugly wall, but for some reason, a certain amount of it has been whitewashed. And so on that side wall, we're gonna put Imagine Art here, and then
Yeah,
our logo or
yeah.
whatever, so that it's a way of saying, look what's going on in this pit, and it's, though Michael Braun said to me the other day, maybe we should move the babies to the Virgin Hotel site and put something else in the pit. Easier
Bill
said
Michael.
than done.
No, and on, just to reiterate what Chair Sheffer is saying, with the wall to the south of where the mural will be, which will get whitewashed, we're also working with Magdalena, will determine what is the best hashtag to put on that wall, because that's what will grab people's
Yeah,
attention.
that will be
And
great.
simply just that
Yeah.
could be hashtag Palm Springs Public Art,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think it's gonna
Yeah.
be cool, like 10 years from now, we're in the parking structure and you're like, that's so
Right,
cool.
and it will
It's
still be there.
Still there, yes.
Exactly. Now, we have a preliminary budget from Ryan, which uses 200 cans of spray paint. But since we're going to approve the total and what the project is, and then we're going to request that the staff turn this into a contract. So, you know, the particulars of how many brushes and rollers and things we don't need to concern ourselves with
Right.
today. It's the total and what will be delivered for
Yeah.
that.
But
So
a couple
can-
of, yeah, a couple of key things, or one in particular, in Ryan's budget is documentation of it, with using a drone and his team, all of which will be provided to us for our social media after it's completed, so we'll be able to have that documentation as well as the actual mural.
Is he, if people are down there to look at the Walker Guest House, are they gonna be able to walk over there, or is he gonna have it
I
sectioned
think
off?
so.
or-
No, well,
No,
I mean,
no,
he'll
Ryan
have
is,
scaffolding, but
yeah, I mean, Ryan, unless for any safety reasons, we need to have sort of a buffer zone. But when Ryan was, excuse me, painting the mural at Desert Regional, he said that was one of the most enjoyable parts of painting it for him. And there, with very limited visibility, it's mostly just hospital staff and patients coming and going. He is completely excited about interacting with an audience and teaching and whatever.
Oh. Chirp, okay, so this is contract, this is item number 2 on this page, which would be to approve a contract with Ryan Campbell for the creation of a mural, including live demonstrations during Modernism Week, located in the downtown project pit, for a total of not to exceed $24,500 per the just preliminary budget. Do you want to make that motion?
Okay,
Do we need to put the dates when we say Modernism Week? I think it's February 10th to 20th, or 14th to 24th.
It's probably
What do we
like the
say?
8th to the, because it's not gonna be this first week, probably be the 8th to the 17th.
Okay.
but do we want to just say that the mural will be completed by the end of February? That way,
Okay.
he's working,
Yeah.
he may be in the middle of
Still
doing
have a
it.
few things to
Yeah.
do,
So
but it will be
February-
ongoing during Modernism Week.
So
This-
February next year would be February 28th, 19?
It's not a leap
Mhm.
year, is it?
Yeah, it's not a leap year.
Right,
Right, it's an odd number.
then do we need,
We need a
what do we need for,
second. What?
oh, do we,
You need to propose it first.
Okay.
Or did we already do that?
no.
No.
We're just locking down a couple of details,
Okay.
so do we need a more specific location other than just the west wall of the Grit Art Pit?
I believe that's fine.
Okay,
And we've got that on as
Do you
well.
need something with the caveat of them not having to extend
Oh,
the wall?
well, just
Yeah.
say,
Well, we're really just directing staff to do the contract at this point. If that wall gets extended, the contract's just not gonna be executed.
right.
So
If the-
all we
if the
really need to
wall
do
is
at this
gone.
point is direct staff to create a contract with Ryan Campbell for,
yeah.
correct?
Right,
Okay.
and then, this is, we'll then go to the, city and say, we can't do this contract unless we're assured that the wall's not gonna go away.
Right.
So,
All right, so we'll go, I'll make
hopefully
a
that will
motion.
do it, yeah.
Motion to approve a contract with Ryan Campbell for the creation of a mural, including live demonstration during Modernism Week, located on the west wall of the Grit Art Pit, downtown project pit, budget not to exceed $24,500, preliminary budget attached, with the completion February 28th, 2019.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other comments about it? With the proviso that we just had, shall we take a vote?
Sure.
on it?
Commissioner Brenner,
Yes?
Commissioner Merrigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes?
Commissioner Pritchard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Yanni,
Yes.
Chair Sheffer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so related to this is, since if we're gonna do all this stuff in the pit, we went and got an estimate for installing lighting in the pit. And as we just discussed could probably be extended across the street to any things that we put in the, on the Virgin Hotel site. This is a company that actually manufactures the lights, so they would belong to us. They could be moved easily to any other project that we wanted to do. There's a very creepy little plan that shows the babies. I'm not- From a drone, I would think. But when we first brought this up, it was before they put the house in and the mural. So the proposal's been amended to have washes of light on the mural and light on the house. And apparently, even if the babies move, the lights will follow them around. I wonder if they move at night when we're not looking.
Of course they do.
So, and we had very good help from John Monahan, who owns the 500 building, which is well lit. And I did inquire, it's possible that we could get some colors, if we wanted. Once this is all set up and the mural's done, we could have some fun with sort of a light show, even if we wanted. So I would like to make that motion, because I think, I'm not sure, well, Russell was part of originally what we should do with this, but I would like to propose the contract with, I lost my piece of paper, with Illuminary Industries for the purchase of lighting for the art in the downtown pit.
So that's,
Estimate of $21,500 is attached, to be installed before Modernism Week. Or we could even say to be installed by February 1st. Would that be?
That gives them sufficient time.
I think so.
It gives
The
us
thing is,
sufficient time.
this is more of a purchase order really than a contract, isn't it? I mean, so it doesn't have a lot of,
It's set up as a purchase order.
right, I mean,
It's easier.
they don't have to, I mean, the deliverables are the whole thing. It's not services, it's,
Correct.
right,
Yeah.
so they should have I mean, the contract should not take too long to, it doesn't require negotiating, it just requires sort of, right, okay. Would someone like to second that?
Wait, Al, did you have a comment?
is this a temporary lighting
It's,
for $21,000?
it's temporarily in this place.
Yes.
But can be moved to any other installations that we want to light.
Okay.
So it's- yeah, it's
They'll
like
become
we will-
ours.
We will.
They
Got
are
it.
ours,
Thank you.
and they are manufactured by this
Thank you.
company. So, and again, the definition of temporary seems to be very fluid. We're all gonna grow old waiting for the pit to.
Okay.
The babies will be in
Yeah,
college.
Madam
Exactly.
Chair, I just would like, for the record, I think it's great and necessary. My concern being whenever this cycle is up and we don't need them, how they are managed and taken care of by the city, who's going to be responsible for them. I don't want them to end up in the shop or whatever the
Right.
place is. It's a sizable expenditure. So just, I think we need to think through when it comes time to
That's
move this, that where does it go from there? And that
That's
it's
a
well
good
handled.
point, thank you. And we might ask, the museum is also talking to this company about lighting the front of the museum. And they're very good stewards of things, so we might find out if they could keep the lights in between what we
Or
need.
if we would contract them for the next installation, because I think a big part of this is not only that, but knowing how to position them and doing all that. And I don't think the city has staff or anyone
No.
that has those capabilities.
No.
So just the note.
And I think
in-
that, hopefully they would go into the next really, more permanent, like the downtown park,
Right,
for
exactly.
example.
Well, that's what I see,
Yeah.
that eventually that's where they end up. And as those discussions happen, knowing that we have this thing that we're adding to our inventory and how to best use it. And I
Yeah.
think it's an exciting
That's a
addition.
Yep.
Good, good thought. Okay.
Shall I
So did
second?
we have it?
Question.
Yeah,
So, Grid is gonna pay for the electricity.
yes.
Yeah.
They just said we could tap into their power in the underground garage. It's apparently also, very low voltage, whatever. I mean, it will not take a lot.
All right, shall I second the motion?
Sure, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, take the vote.
Commissioner Brenner,
Yes.
Commissioner Merrigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Pritchard,
Yes.
Chair Yanni,
Yes.
and Chair Sheffer,
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, so there's only one other contract, which we've also had quite a lot of discussion about, and that is the one with Dyson and Womack. And this is really, to me, this is gonna sort of determine the value and the outcome of doing all this 30th anniversary
Thank you.
programming and social media and everything else. Thank you, Tracy.
It's on the back.
We really need to come out of this year with a strategic plan for how to do what we're doing better, how to have a better ordinance, how to have a better selection process for artists, but how to open up the whole process, first of all, to public comment, but second of all, to artists who might not have thought of applying to do a piece of public art. And what's good about Dyson and Womack is they've done this in a lot of other cities, and they know how to put out an RFP or just to solicit ideas. I mean, for years, the commission has had a list of places in the city where you could put something, but no real ideas about what. What is it that we want to see? We've had sort of a commitment to more murals, and they're starting to, people are starting to come up with ideas for them. The two principals of Dyson and Womack came and talked to our study session. They met with the downtown park designers at least once already, and they would like to propose that on January 24th, which is the Thursday between the January and February meetings, that they have the next 2-hour session with all of us to see what the next steps are. So I would like to propose that we approve the contract with them, because it's going to take a little bit more, when you have their scope of services over 6 months, it's going to take a little bit more time to write the contract, but it would be nice to start in January. So where did I write? There were too many papers. I would like to move that we approve the contract with Dyson and Womack to work with the Public Arts Commission on a strategic plan for public art. The proposal is attached with all of the scope, and the total is not to exceed $24,500. And the time frame is by July 1st, June 30th, we'll say. And by then, hopefully, we can propose something to the city council.
Madam Chair, I noticed the initials MG next to this. I'm guessing Commissioner Gladstone is sort of on point on this one.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that wasn't a typo and you thought it was going to be me.
No, we noticed that
No, that's awesome. Yes.
you get this, very abstract sort of
Yes.
concept of social media
Yes.
for all of these, and it's going to
Yes.
be very.
Well, it's very exciting. Yes.
It is, and Madalena said to me that she hoped we didn't mind, but she was kind of trying to do an app for the murals. And since the other guys have,
Yeah.
never seems to happen, that would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
So we need a second on this.
I second.
Okay. Any other comments about, we did spend a nice 2 hours with them. I think it's going to be very good.
Yeah, I think this is a very good forward step for us, especially with our goal to have diversity.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to do something really worthwhile in the park.
Yeah, thoughtful. Yeah.
What do you mean by diversity? I don't understand.
Oh, just from pool of artists, just whether
Oh,
it's
okay, now I
local.
understand.
And we
Yeah.
don't really know how to go about doing, we need some help from someone who's done it in another city
Right.
so that,
It's excellent.
We-
excellent.
Yeah. I see this as the investment in ourselves as a commission to figure out how we really become effective, figure out what our vision is, and get the path there. So yes, I think
Exactly.
this is,
and I think, interestingly, after 30 years, the commission has been pretty reactive. I mean, somebody will want to give the city a piece of sculpture, or they want to use their credits, or, but it's more fun to see what we could sort of start up.
Yeah,
We could
creative
encourage.
yes,
Right.
and more I think in line with what this commission should be doing, rather than, like you said, being reactive.
Yeah.
And then, there may be people, it happens perhaps in some cities, where, folk donate shares, stock to the Arts Commission, so there are a
And
number
we
of
are,
ways to.
actually, the city is able to take gifts,
Yes,
and,
so hopefully that will be included, yeah,
and people do donate works of art.
yes.
So, okay, we need a vote on this.
Commissioner Brenner,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes,
Commissioner Pritchard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Yanni,
Yes.
Chair Sheffer,
Yes.
and that is 5-0.
Okay, and you might note that Commissioner Merrigan had to leave.
Noted.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, I know that a large part of that project for us will be securing a good piece for the downtown art park, but I also just want to reaffirm our commitment to other parts of the city as well, in terms of identifying other sites and not just concentrate, because we have a lot of downtown action, which is appropriate given all the building, but I also want to reaffirm our commitment to other parts of the city and other sites that we've identified, and hopefully do a similar thing, pick a site, identify it, and move forward on that process as well.
Isn't it about time for another one of our let's drive around the city and find new sites tours?
Love to, anytime.
Maybe we can hop on this bus that
Right.
Tracy's gonna do the tour.
We'll ask the Noosa people, do you like that corner?
All right, so, I think that, why don't you guys come up? Thank
So I
you for
just-
waiting so long.
So in terms of the
but-
agenda.
See now,
So we just finished, so we went through multiple action items as part of letter C on the agenda. Voted on several contracts and movements going forward. Now we're moving into a new section of the agenda, which we will call D1, presentations, which was previously A1. And we would like to invite the designers of a mural project for the Sephora store to please come up. So as we mentioned, so please just hit the green light,
okay, and speak into it.
and when you're ready to speak, if you would please spell your name first and last nice and clearly for the person who does the minutes so they can understand it.
Sure.
And may I say, it's nice to end this whole thing about contracts with some art.
Yeah.
It's like-
Us too.
Yeah, that was actually very enlightening.
It's like interesting,
It was interesting, actually. It's the difference between a community and a municipality really is, like what you guys find is, what you want to present, right? And this is actually very interesting to see, so, thanks. Okay, so my name is Luke Chow, LUKECHIAO, and I am the store design manager in charge of the Palm Springs Sephora store. So, yeah.
So it is Sephora. We had this discussion.
Oh,
Of
It's
how
not
to pronounce
Sephora,
it,
right? It's
right.
actually, okay.
You guys.
I'm sorry.
We know how to pronounce
We
it,
buy
right?
all, we buy all our makeup online. So,
Great. My name is Brian Cadiz, Brian Cadiz. As well as Luke, I'm on the store design team, and in terms of innovation, so anything that's fixture-based, anything kind of this like a mural or any kind of particular unique moment in the store. So thank you for having us.
Thanks
And
for coming.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I've brought a USB stick so that we can present if you'd like. And I have some handouts. Can you pass this around? And inside there, I just turned them into JPEGs if that's easier for you, and they're just in the order that you can advance them. So I think that's easy. So I decided I'd probably want to give a little bit of a history of how this started. And I guess in the first part was that we decided to build a store in your downtown Palm Springs on Palm Canyon Drive. And one of the things that came up was actually the layout that the landlord gave us. We wanted to change the location of the front doors. And if you were to look at the picture, and if you advance it, this is the actual building. And as you look at it, you can see that the door for the existing building is actually on the far left side. And what ended up happening is that the way that we work a store, we actually like to have services up front, and it's not quite the layout that we would normally do. So we asked the landlord if we can move the door to the center of the glazing. And so when that happened, if you can advance the next, we had this open void that, we were thinking, well, what can we do with this? Our vice president thought, at first we thought, well, we can just put a light box there and it'll have our animation and you'll see what you would see in any mall location for Sephora. But we thought, well, this is Palm Springs and it's kind of a cool location, so let's see if we can do something with it. And so I just included a couple pictures just to show. The doors are there right on the side, but then we actually moved them to the center of the glazing. So what ended up happening is, we started thinking about what could we do with this. And so we came up with we had our marketing department go, what is Palm Springs? So in that moment, if you can advance, please, we did some research and we started looking at what other artists were doing. And especially when it came to retailers, and see if there's anything that would go with it. And we got a lot of ideas with that. And then we also started looking at, if you can continue, what are like things that would bring the space. We have a limited space, it's a unique space, and what can we do in that area? And of course, Palm Springs has an interesting location. So we started digging deeper into what Palm Springs was, and we started thinking about it. We have like the front of the store, which is what we're really identifying with, where we can come up with something that could, what what would be a local flair, and what would be a unique to Palm Springs location art piece. And so we looked at the physical parts of it, and at first we were thinking of a smaller piece, as you can see, that the thing right under awning. But then our marketing department was like, we get this whole space? Can we use that? And we actually went for it. We just said, let's go for it. So if you could advance. We started thinking about the inspirations of Palm Springs. And you guys know, the Palm Springs area is incredibly unique. You come right off the airport and you can see several decades of architecture. The mountains are right there out of nowhere. So, and then, it just gives this whole kind of interesting environment. So these were things that we took from it. Then we started thinking about like what we want, how we feel about the whole Palm Springs area. And our marketing team came up with some of these ideas for what the message should be. And so they started looking at this, and how does it really apply towards Sephora as well? If you can continue. So we started thinking about what kind of illustrations we can have. So we wanted something that was reminiscent of the heritage of Palm Springs, as well as something that would be distinct.
Yeah, and you know, we're doing this more and more. We have stores in New York. We're just testing out. We'll be opening in 2019, Times Square. We do have an artist that we've hired for that location. I can't show you what we're doing there, but we're really trying to individualize these stores to the people and the area that it's in. And this is probably the next West Coast location that we're doing this. And we feel like, you know, to get our message out there, to connect with the community, some of these, you know, kind of illustrations, ideas are great to put out next to our store. So this is completed by an artist we have in-house. So, you know, we were able to tweak kind of the design as we go. This is an early version of it. Right now it's kind of, you know, black line and color, but as we advance to the next slide, you can see we're trying to play with some elevations off the face of the wall to give it a little bit more pop. And so if you want to advance the next slide, please. We're showing you just kind of how that depth will kind of play with the light and kind of give a more dynamic sense of that wall versus the door that was going to be there.
Oh,
Right
the left
now,
side.
the material we're proposing, it would be a digital print on an Pollock aluminum panel. And on top of that, it would be sculpted foam that would have kind of a hard lacquered surface with kind of all types of paint colors on it. And so if the commission would love to check these out, that's what we're thinking right now. We're still looking fully at the materials and
I'm so sorry, who's got the photo of him giving me his heart?
I took that through TSA.
Instagrammable moment.
Definitely, that's very cool.
So the assembly would be, you know, a digital print background with these moments applied to it, at yay height, 5'5", so people can take their photos in front of it. And we're developing the materials, the colors right now, but essentially this is the feeling we're getting. You know, get your desert glow.
So there is this kind of 3D element you're saying, like the
Correct,
lips on
yes,
the. Okay.
correct. Yeah, so it's kind of your, you know, your 1950s kind of polygon sign band that then has the letters popped out from it, and we're hoping to get kind of a nice, kind of faceted surface to the letters. So there's some nice kind of light play there, because this won't be lit at night, unfortunately, but it will provide enough kind of depth. For
Why won't it be lit at night?
Oh, there's
Is that a sign thing? Or?
Yeah.
There's just a tremendous amount of electricity and things that need to get kind of into the development.
Actually, we when this comes back to us, we'll be just looking at the design of it.
Sure.
But it's, when you go to apply, the planning department will have some feelings about how far it can extend and the, you know, how it's attached to the wall, things that, sort of technicalities that we don't get into. But it'll come back to us as a proposal, and we really appreciate seeing it ahead of time. I think it's very cool.
Yeah.
But
So I just want to get a sense. So it's an aluminum piece that will be affixed to the wall. So in a way, it's not actually painted on the wall, right? Or,
It's not painted on the wall. As a matter of fact, that particular building, if you saw the brown vertical lines on where the opening is, it's a metal panel system. That's the finish of the building, and it's actually attached separate from the building itself using these hat channels that you know. So
Right.
they have these channels that run along the side of the building, and then they affix the metal panels there. And so our proposal really is we're looking at reusing the metal hat channels, so it will fix onto it, so it will not be attached directly to the building as well.
I wonder if that fits the definition of mural, or if it's
right,
a,
right.
if
or
it's
like
art.
a,
I mean,
yeah,
that,
like a temporary piece or something.
but it, other than that, it, you know, it's not a sign, which is one of the things that we don't have anything to say about signage, but as a piece of art, we can certainly react to it.
I'm just trying to, it's about the same size as the Maryland piece on Lulu, right?
Oh, yeah, I would think.
Though that's up so high, it's hard to.
Yeah.
Right.
But there was some question about how that was going to be attached to the wall, so I think you'll get some questions from the planning department and the
Absolutely.
engineering.
And the other thing, I wish our curator was here, but the other thing we would just always tell everybody who's working on an outdoor piece is the climate here is always much worse than you expect, and you will need all kinds of ultraviolet coatings and things like that. So just make sure your artist is familiar with that.
Right.
No,
it's-
understood. We
Yeah.
were tasking them with finding the right material and
Right.
the coatings that this will stand. So part of it is this metal material works really well outdoors. It's sandwiched, it's very stable.
Does
so
it
that-
it doesn't get hot, though?
Well, the colors we're selecting they're not black or anything that might absorb some of the heat, but it may get hot much like the rest of the building.
But
It's
not
something we can't control unless
So
it's
there's a
shade.
fading issue. I mean, it's
Did you see
facing
have you
east,
seen
right? So it's
the-
gonna get a lot of
Right.
light in the morning and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's
Yeah.
another big issue is
Yeah.
is fading. So
Did you
that's
see what
another.
Yeah.
happened to the one at the cultural center?
Yeah.
So-
But you said
I
the
mean,
material is
sort of
probably
knew
going
that
to
was
be
gonna happen,
aluminum?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so aluminum doesn't conduct the heat, so it'll be just warm to the touch, but never burning anyone, so. But just make a comment about the artistic content and your tagline, I think it's brilliant. Because both for you as the store and for the tourists who come here, that's why they come here, to get their desert glow. It's just, it's perfect. And playing up the retro with modern, I think you're definitely on the right direction for us.
Thank you.
How about the artist now?
So, in turn, it's a hard time of year to get anything done with all the holidays. But our next meeting is on January 10th. And in order for us to approve it at that point, a notice would have to been sent out by January 1st to properties within 500 feet, which is all done by the planning department. But when you go in to apply, tell them that, this is what you're aiming for, because we only meet once a month, so, and I'm sure you're interested in doing this sooner rather than later.
Yes, actually, we were here a little early,
Yeah.
and so we met with the staff, and
Good.
we expressed
Good.
our opinion.
But do
and
tell them about this, because we had just last month, no one was sort of keeping an eye on it, and the notices didn't get out in time for us to be able to act.
Put it on our agenda.
Okay.
So-
Definitely.
Madam Chair,
Thank
the
you.
planning department has informed me it takes about 14 days, I believe, for them to prep everything and get the mailing out.
Okay.
So there's just
So
about
there's
enough
yeah.
time.
No, yeah.
The other possibility is that I think we're going to have a planning session on January 24th. And what we were able to do the last time this happened with a mural deadline was post it as a regular meeting or a special meeting so that we could vote.
Right.
And if it's a matter of just having missed it by a few days, we'll try to do that.
Absolutely.
But it's
the
gonna
more
work.
they
It's
know-
gonna work for
right.
January 1st.
But the more, as long as they know going in that's what
Yeah.
you need,
Okay.
they should be able to do it. It's very fun, and thank you for,
Yeah.
we
Just
like
quick
these sneak
question, you
peeks.
said that you're doing this in a property in New York?
New York, yes.
And is this the second one to the first on the West Coast?
Yes. Yes.
Very good. And is there some industry PR or something that goes with this at
Yes,
some
yes,
point
we
that we would
do.
very much love for them to be also pointing out the first West Coast release
Yes,
before
yes.
you ends up?
Yes,
Well, and
definitely.
you've seen the angel wings on the side of the
At the-
Rowan.
On the Rowan.
With the hashtag, which is also turning out to be getting a lot more Instagrammability and stuff. So we're happy to promote that. We want people to just start noticing the art that there is all around, so.
Yeah, no, we will we will be promoting it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I want to promote it.
So what is your timeline? I mean, when do you think it would actually, so it's gonna come here totally made, right, basically?
So basically, the timeline we're shooting for is, the install date is in April, so we're working back. It's going to take some time to manufacture, but basically, this is new for me, but we're installing at the same time as the fixtures are installing in the store, so that it will probably be done a little before the actual store opening, but we want to reveal it at the store opening, which I think is in May. So
May,
Excellent.
another anniversary event.
That's
You're gonna
great.
miss
And
all those Coachella people.
Oh, yes, we are at Coachella too.
yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
definitely
Yes.
sponsor
Yeah.
a tent there.
a glowing thing.
Okay.
Well, that's terrific. Can you send us this just
Yeah,
on a
it's
file? or-
actually in there. I can just have you copy it over if you want.
Yeah, maybe, and just, because it's nice to just have it digitally too, in case we wanted to show it to someone. We're very impressed with your computer skills, Jay. We've never managed to project anything, I think, in real time, have we? This was very good.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming and letting us know about it. This is, again, if you've heard some of what we talked about, we have a new mural ordinance and things like that, and so we're trying to sort of establish the process, to make it easier actually for the artists and the clients. So we're just really happy that you came here first and talked to us about it. And
It used to
Looks
be
good.
four commissions had to see it,
Yeah.
each of which met once a month.
right.
So it could easily take 6 months to,
I see. Well, thank you for helping
Yeah,
us.
Just
thank
get
you
through
for
the
helping us.
process.
All the help that you've actually given us before, and of course with our landlord too, Grit. They've been great partners with Sephora. So,
Great.
thank you very much again for giving us this time
Well,
to
and for
share it.
being
Yeah, thanks for
patient with
coming.
us. Thank you.
For giving us your heart.
Should we snap a picture of that?
Goodness knows I've given you enough of my money.
Yes, everyone sort of perked up when.
I know. Oh my gosh, the girls that I work with.
Very good, thanks. Okay,
Commissioner comments, reports, requests.
anybody have a sort of a request for something we should think about next? Actually, having this on Sephora made me think of two things. One, the other day I met the owner of the Italian goods store that's between Tommy Bahama and House of Poke. And he feels the same way, that he would like to draw people off of Palm Canyon. He could stand there and see people walking by and no one looks down to see. He was trying to see if he could commission a giant sculpture of a shoe. He has really fabulous Italian shoes. But he also asked if, how we felt about Marilyn coming back. And there is a movement to, right now, there's a place for her in the public park, but it's way over by the garage. It's like in the far corner. And of course, these merchants and probably even the museum would, again, love something that you could see from. So I've been avoiding having it classified as a piece of art that we would have to deal with, but it may be that we should. I mean, it's a very reputable artist and piece of art.
So
And
you want to cut her foot off and put a
No.
shoe in?
no, but I think at some point someone's going to ask the commission how they feel about her coming back into the park.
Oh, people ask me all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
So be prepared. Well, I think we got through an amazing amount. Does anyone
just-
have? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Sure
just want to
did.
make a quick comment to my fellow commissioners, because now that we are going to place the Michael Bernberg piece on the Virgin Hotel site, I would like us all to drive by, look at the site, because it has multiple sort of faux support structure things on the site, round ones, square ones. They're actually slurry over some sort of framework, so they're not actually concrete. But we need to think forward as to what else will be on the site to make it more active and exciting. So
At one point, we were going to have a mural smackdown and to let people, you know, various teams of artists and kids, let's say, paint. But also, Tracy started talking about some sculptures that, besides the Clements pieces, are just in the wrong place. And one of them's the lawn chair,
Right.
which
is
might really look cute
under
in the middle of
construction.
that. And another is, I forget what it's called, the red spiky one at Ramon
Oh,
and
Gene Autry.
Gene Autry. I can't remember the title of
Red
it.
Echo, I
But,
think,
you know,
yeah.
since it went in there, the stores and the shrubbery and everything have grown up around it so much that, I mean, that's the sort of thing that maybe could be highlighted for a couple of years. And you might think about it, other ones that are just sort of gotten buried where they are. And, you know, we could have, yeah, and I don't know if there's any, you've been to the storage yard. Is there anything there? No.
I keep hearing about this storage yard. I haven't seen it.
If
You
we
have
tell
to
you,
go
we must kill you.
once.
Right?
I also have this odd feeling when I go to the airport that there are things there that weren't there before, and I'm just not quite sure how that happened. That one called Balzac, wasn't that in the yard?
It wasn't there when I was there. Right? We went together. right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You want another field trip, right?
That's
Let's
what I'm
go.
saying. It's a
Yeah.
great field trip. I mean,
Right.
it's-
But besides, you know, I think while we're sort of like housekeeping and moving things around and stuff, there are places where like our bicycle racks are right on top of somebody else's bicycle racks, and I don't even know what happened to the last few bicycle racks. Do you? No. But especially along the sidewalks in North Palm Canyon, between our stuff and other stuff, you know, it's really crowded.
There's a lot.
The
right?
pit's getting a little crowded too, but that's just
Right.
because.
That's because the babies are getting so huge.
I know. That's
They're
all right.
growing like babies.
They're trying to get out.
But back to moving things, the Clement pieces, when we talk about trying to get those moved by modernism. we
Or I
have-
thought, I think the last was
Oh,
that
no,
it would be
the-
by
the-
May,
May, right.
right.
All right, so
What
I
year?
think Dr. Red was gonna, like, put it,
2019.
okay, but it was,
Yeah, good. Yeah.
he was gonna run it by the council again, are we, okay, just to make sure. And then we have an offer from the artist to help us decide, like, you know,
Which
what
order.
order.
Oh,
and-
that's nice.
Yeah.
So we can start putting that in place at our January meeting.
We could try, we could ask if we could have an answer from them.
Well, I was planning on bringing it to the council on the 19th.
Okay,
But moved
okay,
Okay.
December?
to
Or?
December.
Oh.
So just waiting.
Yeah.
okay.
How would that be?
Because the pads are there, which we had, you know, they were there anyway.
Exactly where they are.
Uh,
So I
and-
put a diagram.
Yes,
down.
I actually, I'm gonna go off the road one of these days, because I drive by and I keep looking for
the
them.
paths. Right?
They're on the end, closer to
Closer
the
to
airport
town.
and.
Oh,
well,
closer
no,
to the
they're-
airport.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's at least one on, but there's like one per section.
City attorney determined we own them.
He determined that they'd been abandoned and,
The
worst
current city
cases-
attorney or the old city attorney?
I think the old one couldn't decide.
Oh,
or-
okay.
So this is the
But
current.
the main thing is that we have the permission of the artist, and if all else fails, they belong to him, so.
Okay.
And,
How about if we each claim one?
Mhm.
I'll take one. you
We'll
Yeah.
paint it. I'll paint it every 3 years.
right, exactly. Federal law says that you need an artist's permission to destroy or modify a piece of sculpture, but not to move it. I mean, but if he gave
But
us
he's
his
agreeable, so
advice,
it's
yeah,
like, yeah.
it would be,
Let's just do it.
I don't know, is it the big one first and then smaller, or do you?
Well, I have a commissioner comment. I just wanted to say I'm really happy with the direction that everything seems to be going. I feel like in the past, especially after the recession, it seemed like we were focusing a lot more on programs and things like that. And I understand that because wasn't much money coming in because there was no development. But I think we're now in a different position, and I like the program, the things that we're organizing. I would like to keep going in the direction of more art, right? In various forms. And again, not every piece has to be, a huge statement piece like in the art park, right? I think we also have room for smaller pieces to help enhance the neighborhoods and things like that. And I hope that's a focus that we can continue moving on as we go forward.
I think it became really clear with these guys talking about this is the first piece they're doing on the West Coast and how excited they are about Palm Springs. And one of those things that we always need to keep in mind about, we are a very special, unique place, and to make public art such a huge part of it, and it's such a good fit.
Well, and I also hope that we can, if we can be more in touch with any developers who might be planning to put art in, so that we know about it earlier in the process and they think about it. The Dream Hotel, they've already started buying art and talking to their architects about how it will fit into the, but that's, the owner happens to be an art collector. But I don't think there are any projects that really that are sort of currently chugging along like Andaz and some of the residential ones, that there's an obvious place for art. Andaz seems to fill every inch of that block. And if gated communities really aren't appropriate. But if we can get the message out to developers that, this is what your fees are for, and if you are thinking of installing some art, you should talk to us before it's finished.
I talked to the ones who during 64 at Riviera, which is moving along very quickly, and apparently their next project is some number at Sunrise and Alejo, that lot, behind there. There's like a non-denominational church there.
Oh, yeah.
But that actually would be a great spot, because I don't think we have too much, other than at Sunrise Park, we don't really have anything on Sunrise. So that might be a good one where we could maybe, before they actually do everything, we could actually talk to them about, getting a corner or something like that.
If we can get some guidance from Dyson and Womack, it might be fun to have a briefing for developers. Just with, first of all the possibilities, and secondly, all the process and rules and whatever. Like if you're thinking about building this. And I also think that, I'm not sure if a lot of cities have a minimum amount that you have to have paid in before you can ask for a reimbursement. But I don't think a lot of developers don't even know, that it's a possibility that they could put some art in and get some of their fees back. So, all right. Well, if there is
any other reports, requests, okay, good.
Thank you for really being such a good vice chair, because you always make us. Okay, so you're going to do
Thank
that. You make us stick to the rules.
This Public Arts Commission will adjourn to our next regular meeting at 4 p.m. Thursday, January 10th, in the large conference room at Palm Springs City Hall on Canyon Way, Tuckwith Canyon Way in Palm Springs.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.